Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about USA's $30 trillion in debt and what it all means. I'm going to go through it in a little bit of detail. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe and make sure you like and comment. I love reading your comments. So without further ado, guys, let's get on with the show. So as you see from the headlines, USA is $30 trillion in debt. And they have reached this within 3 years ahead of schedule. As you can see, January 2020, the Congressional Budget Office projected that the national debt would reach 30 trillion by the end of 25. Well, we're on 2022 and we've already reached 30 trillion. So why have we reached 30 trillion? I'm going to go through this USA debt clock, by the way. So one of the reasons they've reached 30 trillion right now earlier than expected is because of the pandemic. They borrowed a lot of money for social packages. They were giving a lot of people checks through the post. They were helping a lot of businesses. And so that came to about 5 trillion. Plus they've been printing a lot of money. So they've been doing a lot. So shall we go over this debt clock in detail and show you what this means? So I've got the debt clock open here and you see all of these figures and a lot of it doesn't make any sense, so I'm going to try and explain it as much as I can. So you can see, first of all, you got the national debt here at the top left, and that's 30 trillion, and which is the figure right now. So the debt per citizen is about $90,000, and that's per citizen in USA. But then you have another figure called the debt per taxpayer. So this is the amount of debt that a normal person who is working, who's paying their taxes. And as you know, a lot of people in USA are homeless or in jail or illegal immigrants. So the debt per taxpayer is probably more of an accurate figure of the people of the working class. So you have US federal spending. So what does this mean? So I'll explain in a little bit more detail on the next screen. So it says the government spends on programs that ensure the well-being of people of the United States. Why does the federal government do this? The Constitution provides an answer. The Constitution's preamble states that the purpose of a government is to establish justice, secure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote general welfare, and secure blessings of the liberty to ourselves and our prosperity. So in the fiscal year 2021, the federal government collected 4.05 trillion in federal revenue, and since the government has spent more than it has collected, the deficit was 2.77 trillion. So as you can see, the US federal spending, the US federal spent on everyday things and in making people, giving people better lives. So the US federal spending debt in itself, in an easier way to explain it, is a debt that the government owes to itself for its social security, IOUs. So as you can see, the US federal spending is more than what they receive. So the budget deficit for federal spending is 2.8 trillion, which is still a lot if you consider 2.8 trillion is about the size of UK GDP. So UK GDP is just under 3 trillion right now. So you can see it's very close to a lot of developing countries' GDPs. The other thing I was going to show you is the US federal debt to GDP ratio, and as you can see right now, the debt to GDP ratio is 128%, which is a lot, really. There are other countries which have got a higher debt to GDP, which is namely Japan. Japan, I believe, has got over 200%. I can't remember the exact figure. If you compare this to the values in 1960, it was 53%, 1960, 1980 it was 34%, so that went down. 2000 it went to 59.31, and it's more than doubled now. In 20 years it's more than doubled to 128% debt to GDP. So which means the USA has got more debt than money coming in at the moment in terms of its GDP. So the next thing I was going to show you guys is the largest budget items, and you can see where most of the money goes. You can see 1.2 trillion goes to Medicare, 1 trillion goes to Social Security, and you got 721 billion goes to defense and war. And the interest on all of its debt is 424 billion, which means it owes more debt than a lot of countries with that amount of GDP. So 424 billion in terms of GDP are similar to countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so you can see the debt it pays is more than GDP of a lot of countries. So if you compare USA's national debt with its GDP, and you compare to China, for example, and you compare it to Japan, you can see that in terms of Japan is much worse off, 200 to 80%. However, this is one of the reasons Japan's economy has not been growing for the last 20 years, because of the amount of interest it has to pay on its loan and its debt. So because of that, Japan's economy is pretty much stagnant. UK is also heading that way as well. UK is not looking good in terms of finances. France as well, and Italy has not been doing well in its finances either. And if we go down and you go to Greece, and you can see Greece has not been doing well over the last 10-20 years either, and you can see the amount of debt that Greece owes. So Greece's economy is not doing very well. Portugal as well, Spain. So you can see a lot of the big top 10 countries are following the footsteps of USA in terms of this debt. So these countries will need to step up and do something about it. Otherwise, they can see themselves not growing like Japan for the next 20 years. So a couple of things stand out for me. This defense bill. And the defense bill is still being passed every single year, while the infrastructure bills keep getting rejected. As you can see, the infrastructure bill, which is 2 trillion, has not passed, and that's going to add an extra 2 trillion to the debt, by the way. So at the moment it's 30 trillion. Once this infrastructure bill passes, they're going to add another 2 trillion to the debt level. So my question is, you got these defense bills and infrastructure bills. Why is the defense bill so high? Compare it to other countries. Like the second highest country is China, and that's about a third of what USA spends. And I'm just questioning, does USA really need to spend this much on defense? Why don't they cut that in half and start putting that money into social care, medicine, help the homeless, for example, help people in poverty? Because if you look at the internet, you see so many videos and issues about people becoming homeless in America. There's more and more people becoming homeless every month, and every day there are people becoming homeless. And these people have got issues with mental health, they got issues with drugs, and because of that, there's crime. There's going to be more and more crime. And I'm hearing stories about people's packages are not being delivered. They're being ransacked. Trains are being ransacked. These homeless are going into stores and stealing everything they can get. And police are not doing anything because some of these cities have said that shoplifting up to certain values, police are not going to turn up. So these homeless guys and these people with no money are just going around rampant in all of these stores and causing as much mayhem as they can, and police are not doing anything. And people are very, very fed up about this, and America needs to, combat this at the source. Stop the homelessness. Stop these homeless people from getting into drugs and trying to help them and helping the poverty. If you compare America to China, for example, China has got rid of extreme poverty. There's more and more people going from poverty into less poverty and into middle class. And in America, people are going the other way. People are going from middle class into poverty, into extreme poverty. I mean, China has brought up over 500 million people out of poverty over the last few years. And that is a huge, huge deal. While people in America are going more into poverty. So there's definitely something wrong here. So like I said, there's 2 trillion still to come. That's going to be adding to the debt level. But one thing I have not mentioned is the inflation. And you can see how Biden lashes out to reporters when they mention anything about inflation. However, inflation is a big problem because what the Fed is doing now, they're going to increase the interest rates. And when they increase the interest rates, this debt level is going to go even higher because you're going to have to pay more to this debt. And when you increase interest rates, when people that have mortgages, people that have loans, people that have debts, they have to pay more. And so they're going to be worse off. And because this debt level is so high, more interest will need to be paid. So this is going to be even higher. And in terms of the average citizen, they're going to have to pay off this debt. And there's going to be increase of taxes, adding all of these extra interest rates they need to pay for their mortgages or if they have any loans. Energy prices are going up, inflation is going up, so the cost of living is going up, the cost of food is going up. There's going to be a huge bubble that is ready to burst in America right now. Not just in America, but the rest of the world, places like UK, Spain, Italy. There is a major crisis happening at the moment. What Biden doing about this crisis then? Let me tell you what he's doing. He's sending troops to Poland, he's sending troops to Romania, he's sending troops to Germany, he's probably even Ukraine. And he's talking about this fake Russian invasion that's going to invade all of Ukraine, which is not going to happen unless Ukraine do something stupid like attack the Donbass, or for example. So he's doing all of this to get the headlines off his back and get the headlines off his back in terms of the economy. So people are talking about Russia and Ukraine. He's sending ships to the South China Sea. So people are talking about the South China Sea. He's talking about boycotting the Olympic Games. He's talking about the Uyghurs. So again, the people in America are thinking about China, what a big enemy China is. And he's doing all of this to take the heat off himself and put the heat on other countries. And today I've seen a report where he's bombing ISS bases in Syria as well. And again, all of this stuff he's doing abroad is just to take the heat off his back. He has failed the US economy. He has failed the American people with his promises. He is destroying America. America is going backwards with him in power. Actually, who is actually running the White House? Because it's not him. This guy's walking around with his pajamas, not knowing where he is or what he's supposed to do. And there's people behind the scenes running the White House. And, he's talking in press conferences, he's talking in riddles, and people are having to correct his mistakes in press conferences. He's got a really short temper. He's on the phone shouting at Zelensky. He's on the phone and shouting at reporters, and Jen Psaki and all of his other aides are coming on and saying, no, Biden didn't mean this, he meant that. It's an absolute disaster, guys, an absolute disaster. And looking at this as someone coming from UK, and I know what you're saying, that, you guys can't talk, you got Boris, and you're 100% right. Boris is a joke as well. We're all doomed, we're all absolutely doomed. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like and share, and I'll see you in the comment section. I love reading your comments, so let's carry on from there. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again soon.